Hi ladies and gentlemen, I'm Benjamin. Most of you already know that from my previous videos, but for those that don't, welcome. And if you've watched my videos in the past or just now coming, I hope you hit the subscribe button. I'd appreciate more people that are on board of this channel. And I've never taken you guys out here to my shed. I have a 20 by 14 shed that I have my well, 75 to 80, maybe even 90% of my collection. So, in the last few months, I've been working on this roundhouse, and it was already put together, but the issue was that in the past I've taken the track out, and well, I've changed up this board for one. The distance between the lip of the turntable to the lip of the roundhouse was like 2.75 inches, and I switched it to, I think this is 4 if I'm not mistaken. So I've been back and forth on deciding whether or not I wanted that size, and after trying the 2 inches, almost 3, it wasn't enough. So I've laid track in and out because I've changed the board up in other ways. Like before, it kind of had a hill, so to speak. So here it was, as it went up, it also the level of the board, so it come down, which it didn't work out so great. But I was trying something I saw in a book, and unfortunately that was not a good idea. So the issue is I've laid track in and ripped it out, and the doors have been broken off. I've replaced little pegs with staples, so the doors don't really close and open on this roundhouse like they're supposed to. But for the most part, this roundhouse is in good condition, considering all. The thing is, I've had to come in and file out the glue from the rail grooves where the rail is supposed to fit. So it's been a real challenge, and I broke some stuff on the roundhouse, and I've glued it together very carefully. But due to these changes in the board, you can't really see it, but this first stall here is a little higher, at least the frame on it, because it come apart, and I glued it and didn't make sure that I took a clamp or something. There's some other issues with it, but I know some of my people from Facebook posting to the Union Pacific fan base or group said, one guy was like, just start a new one and keep this one for parts. I could. I have all the I have the roofing that goes to all that's in good shape. And I'd say, well, why do I have a hole in the back? Well, the kit doesn't come actually with the walls. The amount number, if you're going to build, say, stalls for the big boy, and really wanted it all to fit the big boy, but there's only 5 because I did want it enclosed. Now you can buy some stuff and enclose that. I will probably do that later down the road, but for now I'm leaving it open. It's kind of the idea that it's under construction is what the Walters kit says. I don't really like that. I wish they'd just go ahead and provide the wall and the windows. And the other thing I don't like about what I did, it gives you an idea that you can do. So this side over here, the glass is on the inside and the frame's on the outside, where this wall here is reverse. And then these walls I couldn't make up my mind, so they too alter, but I think most of them, the frame is on the inside and the glass on the outside, and then I switched a few of them. That's something that's suggested, and not that's a bad idea. I mean, I guess it depends on the modeler and what you want to build, but when I build my next one, the frame will be on the outside and the glass will be on the inside, as it should be, or at least to my opinion, if you choose to build it differently. But I brought you here because, well, so I took out the track, or the rail, and I'm trying to conserve, so I've taken the old rail, the longer pieces for the big boy section, and we're cutting that down to length for the Challenger section, and taken ties from another rail that, well, I thought it was gonna put all new, but I decided that I want to salvage as much as I can. So there's gonna be one new track for sure that's gonna be brand new, but I'm gonna try to use as much of the old rail. So I took some of the ties and I just cut to fit the section, and yes, they're concrete. I know this is steam, but I kind of felt like I wanted modern air. This is not a Union Pacific track. This board is kind of well, this layout that I'm building. Here's the other part, and yes, it's cluttered too, and I know it kind of looks junky, but this was done when I was 15 years old, especially this refinery plant, which, yes, it still has some detailing to finish to it, but the track, the bridge, the landing that it comes out to here once it comes off the bridge, all that was done when I was 15, 16 years old. No, the coaling tower was not done. That was actually done about 4 or 5 years ago. Same with the sand tower. All that was also done in that same year. While I was going to college, I was doing all this stuff. So I've had them for a while, and I've cleaned them up from time to time because they do get dusty. Believe it or not, this loading dock for the tank, that too was done when I was 15 years old, believe it or not, or somewhere along in there. So I've had them for quite a long time, but the problem with this board is that my tank car collection and my ideas have changed about how I want to do this. I'd actually up here, I want to put in a three-way switch, then maybe a snap switch off, and then a one track that comes out here, and then three tracks that come here, and then another three-way switch here, allowing say for a locomotive to run around on the outside and come and get the cars and drop them off, and you can bring them out. And the issue is you can't just pull this up. This track was nailed down, and the nails on the other side is bent because over time, I don't know what it was, but the nails would slowly work up, and to keep that from happening, so to try to take the track back up is going to rip it. Now you'd say, well, who cares, it's cheap. Well, no, rails is not cheap anymore, it's gone up. Plus, some things is easy and cheaper to get. But that there is a number 10 or 12 switch, and I got that when I was 15. It's a Shahara or whatever that the Walters does. And for a while you couldn't even get those, but now Walters back into doing that. You say, well, why did I get such a large switch? Well, I thought I needed that for the big boy. It turns out I don't really need it. But there is, however, a cab forward that requires a 28-inch or 30-inch radius that I have from Intermountain because the second set of drivers on that don't swing out because their pipes are connected to the cylinders on that. So I don't want to lose that, and I want to salvage all these switches and all this track if I can. So what I'm going to do is flip this board over side and use a Dremel tool to cut that bent over part to the nail, and then see if I can carefully pull this up. Now it's not going to be that difficult. I also want to switch this up. I want to put one of those double switches in, so where it has like a crossover section and then switches where, I'm sorry, I guess you can't see. So a crossover section, and you got two switches, and you got two switches here. I want to switch this out so the train come from any direction can switch rails on this. So that'll be something I do down the road. This refinery will be here, but this coaling tower will not. Same with this sanding tower and the sand pit and the building. All that will actually go to the next board that'll be built out of here. But I thought I'd just give you guys kind of a look and see if you had some suggestions, whether or not you think that's a great idea as far as changing up this board and this layout, or would you just keep it the way it is? The other thing I wanted to do, well, so I have kind of this coal tower in the way, but this road, so in between the road and the bridge embankment there is supposed to be a river, because This out here is going to actually be a lake. At least that was the plan, and I was going to cut the board. But over time, I wanted real water back when I was 15. I thought that was going to be a great idea. I think that's a disaster, just maintenance and upkeep. What I'd rather do now is, that's the other reason I want to pull the track up off this board. I want to go get foam, like I've got over there, put foam up, and like I've done this. See, there's foam, and then there's cardboard on top of it, and then a layer of plaster. Well, it's paper towel dipped in plaster with glue, Elmer's glue, and then layered on top. You say, well, why would you do that for? When I done this the first time and it turned really good as far as the scenery part of it, paint really sticks to this better, and I really like that it's easy. Paint covers that pretty easy, and it's not a big problem to do. But when I was 15, I didn't think about that. Yes, there were some people, and I thought it was pretty expensive to buy one of those. I wish now I just spent the money and done it. But I also plan on doing live water. So I'm thinking now I could cut that into the foam, and it would be so much easier, and then just take that stuff that you can pour in it, then it's clear, it dries, and it looks like water. Have there. Plus, like I say, I want over time my collection of cars, and I've got those tank trains, they call them, cars. When I was a kid, you could buy them. I think Walters had them as a kit, but they were expensive, and you had to buy a certain number of them. Now, Athearn makes them, and you can buy the end cars and the intermediate and build the size of train that you want. And not to say that those cars would still fit in this, because they're like 7 cars. I think I have one that just has 3 cars. So that was kind of the plan, was to run a smaller tank train in here, and then my other single tanker rail cars in here, and work that system. And I've got another second offloading, onloading, well, offloading, I guess, for the tanker part of it that I'll put together and use on my board as well. But so those are some of the changes that I want to do. This board too, there's a crossing over there. Yes, I have that track. It's a Bachmann. It doesn't work very well. I want to change it to mechanical, where the gates come down through a mechanical. I have the lights that go to that. I also have the sensors that go in there and the electronics to make all that work, which I'm not sure I fully understand, but it does come with paperwork. I hope it works, because one of the modules I bought when I was 15, I've never tested it, so if it works, I guess I'm just screwed on the money I spent. And then the other second module needed to work. I got that about 4 or 5 years ago. No, I haven't tested that either to make sure, but it's all supposed to be wired together and connected to make those lights come on, flash back and forth, and the sensors to pick up for the locomotive, which no, I haven't tested. Even matter of fact, it was missing the sensors, which I did write the company, and they mailed it with a proof of receipt, of course. But so those are some thoughts. I just come to give some people some updates on what I've been doing and why I haven't posted any videos, because John Deere laid me off from the job I was working with them. And I'm still in the process of trying to find an engineer. Yes, I do have a job. I have 2 jobs. I work for an ag company, and I work for a trucking outfit just on the weekends for that. So that's why I don't really have a lot of time either. And yeah, as you can see, this kind of been a mess, but this will all get cleaned up very nicely once I get some time. And as a matter of fact, now I've got 2 tracks cut, and the ties, I mean, it's got to be fine-tuned, but the thing is, I want to get this track back into place where it's supposed to be. I also did this, as I started to say, and I got sidetracked. So the reason I put cardboard down on top of the foam is because you can screw the track down, which I know is not very prototype, but I wanted the track to be removable, the whole thing to come apart, so that if you move and you can just pick it up and move, which is the other problem with this board. It's not very movable. Now, believe it or not, there's screws for the bridge piers or bunkments, whatever you want to call them, so they will unscrew and come unbolted. This thing here is too, it has screws, and there's that's the other reason I want to redo this, because part of it has 2x4s underneath of it, but so far out here it does not, so the track doesn't have good stable foundation underneath of it. So if you run a big boy across it, it could cave in, and on a $600-700 locomotive, you do not want that to happen. So that's another reason I'm going to redo that. Also, as you can see, the opening, this is a cardboard with plaster Paris, well, paper towel, so it's very thick and kind of heavy, hard. In the future, I'm going to use those foam pieces and stack them up and cut, and then carve in the ditches, and then layer that with one layer of paper towel dipped in plaster Paris, same thing, and then paint that. But I'll also probably use that stuff for making waterways, which, as you can see, the blue, what I did is I used Elmer's glue, believe it or not, and it did dry clear, and then I put the paint in it before I poured the Elmer's glue, and as I put the Elmer's glue, I painted it. And I know it's probably hard to believe, but that did actually look pretty good. But unfortunately, over time it deteriorates, and being in a shed that gets hot and cold, yes, I have air conditioning, I have space heaters, not exactly the safest thing, but that right now is all I can afford. So but in the future, once I get some of my student loans paid off, a new truck bought, and my teeth fixed, I'm going to buy a shed that will be about twice the size of this. We're going to go to like a 28 by 45 foot, and then we'll put a heating and cooling system in it. Well, one of these window units, basically, that'll heat and cool instead, and do away with the space heaters, so that if something goes wrong, you don't burn something down. But if you guys, I looked, sometimes you make comments, especially in the Southern Pacific. I really got some feedback, but a lot of people are kind of real negative about my attitude toward that. But I was really hoping for some ideas, suggestions, what you think. I have the kit to build this 9-stall roundhouse all over again and redo it if I want. Like I say, the roofing is in good shape, so I really wouldn't need to get a new, I could just use. But the suggestion from the one guy on the Union Pacific group was to just keep this for spare parts, which I could do that. I was going to sell it to somebody. I'd say, I know how people feel. Why would you sell something that you wouldn't have? Well, I thought maybe some, teenager that doesn't have to have something perfect and is in good shape would, for a cheap price that some father or mother would be willing to pay. This way they're not paying brand new price. Plus, you get something that, is already put together and set to go. All you got to do is lay the track to it, and boom, you're set to go. But it's not because I was trying. I just wanted something that as far as I was concerned, for my layout, put together right. But if you choose to do it different, doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just wrong in what I wanted. So that was the reasoning. But like some other people suggested, well, when I went to go to box it up, it probably wouldn't make it through the mail, so it'd have to be somebody had to come and pick it up. But believe me, I wouldn't sell it if I thought it was junk. I'm not into screwing people like that. And I'd also be willing to negotiate on the price. It isn't something I'm trying to stick it in somebody's rear and get rich so that I make money and they get some junk. But if somebody thought they could part with it, I would probably sell it. But I think at this point, being I've already cut 2 tracks practically, it's just a matter of fine tuning. I'm just going to stick with it. Because this layout plan really was just practice for the real thing. What I plan on building, believe it or not, is the city of Cheyenne, at least part of it, maybe not all of it. then building the Markham rail yard and connecting. I know one's a Union Civic and the Markham rail yard's in Illinois Central. Why would you do such a thing? Well, believe it or not, but Council Bluff, Omaha has what I classify as a transfer table or a transfer. So the Illinois Central Canadian National, as it became with the merger, freight goes as far as there, then it's handed over to the Union Pacific or vice versa, at least from what I see from the maps and things. I don't know that that's a fact. I've never watched the moving of freight, but I'm just guessing that's probably what happens there. And that's kind of what I wanted to build. Plus, being a guy from Effingham, I wanted really, to build maybe part of this city of Chicago and do the Amtrak train all the way down to Effingham and do the city of Effingham. Yes, I know that's a lot of track, probably a lot of money, and a poor man as myself, at least at the moment, is probably not going to be able to afford that unless I get the engineering job and really my career spikes through the roof, which hopefully I can make that happen, but we'll have to wait and see. So any thoughts, comments would be greatly appreciated. And thank you for listening and watching. And hope you enjoy my videos. You don't find them boring. And if you have any, like I say, thoughts, suggestion, please hit that subscribe button. Take care. Bye bye.